Hey, this is Heidi Dawson. If you love all things health and wellness and style of any kind, hang out here with me each week. I'm obsessed with never-ending improvement, and it's all in an effort to help each one of us live a wildly successful lifestyle. Subscribe today so you don't miss a thing.
Hi, guys. Welcome to episode 430 of the Wildly Successful Lifestyle Podcast. I'm happy to be here with you. What are we doing together today? Are we driving? Are you doing the stair stepper while you listen? Maybe we're having coffee. I don't know what it is, but I promise, whatever it is, I'm happy about it. Thanks for including me. Okay. Have you ever been invited to a dinner at someone's house where everyone's bringing a dish and you aren't sure what's going to be there, but you know for sure that you can eat the dish that you're bringing? Maybe you're like me and you have allergies. Doesn't matter if every other dish that's there has dairy and you don't eat dairy. That's okay because you brought your favorite dish that has no dairy. You got out ahead of it. You knew in advance you'd have something you could eat because you brought it. Now, if you go not knowing what's going to be served and you don't bring a dish, now you're at the whim of whatever the host is serving or whatever anybody else brings. When things really matter, you don't leave them to chance. And when you get out ahead of things, you have to decide in advance what you're bringing to the table. If you're smart, you wouldn't leave that to chance. Life is like that too. What you bring to the table is really crucial. Your energy and your decision in advance of how you're going to show up matters more than anything else. I mean, when you know you're going into a situation where there's lots of varying opinions and ideas, and some of them maybe you're not going to like so much, maybe there'll be different opinions, but you know in advance how you're going to show up regardless of the opinions being served. I mean, if you go in guns loaded, ready to fire at any moment, well, you know how that's probably going to end. I mean, if you're already having an inner dialogue of, well, if this person says this, I'm going to lose my mind. We all do it, but it's not helping us. And if you suspect that there's going to be different opinions, not preparing in advance how you're going to show up could leave you really struggling of how to handle it, how to keep your composure. So deciding up front that no matter what, you're going to be open and friendly, and that's how you actually keep your composure in any situation. Deciding up front how you're going to show up regardless of what happens. And there's so many situations where we have to work with other people, whether it's family or friends or coworkers, your boss. And here's the thing, we tend to attract the energy that we put off. I mean, confident, aligned, happy people are not usually thrown off by petty people. You know why? It's because usually they don't even notice the pettiness, or the person that's usually petty isn't petty with them because that's not on their radar. That's not what they're attracting. Like attracts like. If I have turmoil everywhere I go, there's one person to blame. It's me. And there's something going on with me, which is not so bad because that means I can change it. I mean, but we don't like to hear that. We don't want to think that we attract negative things because, of course, we would never invite negative things into our life, right? But sometimes, even well-meaningly, we plop ourselves right in the middle of a negative situation. If you're like me, and I think some of you are, you feel like you can lift people out of their negative vibration by tripping over yourself to be nice to them. Or maybe you think it's your job for everyone to be happy. This seems benign on its face, but that's going to put you right in an unhappy person's path because you're looking to fix them. So you attract that. And you were only trying to do good, but it still applies. The energy that we bring to the table, it matters. If we're grumpy, we're probably running into other grumpy people all day. If we don't decide up front how we're going to show up, even if that certain coworker does that annoying thing, if we don't decide up front how we're going to be, then them doing that's probably going to ruin our day, right? It doesn't have to be that way, though. It doesn't have to be about that Karen at work, even if you actually have a Karen at work. I love that we've turned that name into Karen. I love that we've turned it into a thing. Funny story. Long before the name Karen ever became a thing, I used to work with a woman whose name was actually Karen. And she was not the happiest person in the world at all. I mean, she was very unhappy. In fact, all the time, especially with herself, which is always the case. And so, of course, she brought that to work. And at the time, this has been many years ago. At the time, it really was my job. I thought it was my job to make everyone around me happy. And I tried my best to help her be happier, but I couldn't be happy enough to make her happy too. I remember one day she wanted to go to lunch and there was no one to cover the front desk, which is where she worked. And so I said, hoping to help her be a little happier that day, I said, I'll cover it until you get back. No problem. I was a sales rep, but I had started as the receptionist, so I was comfortable doing that job. So she went to lunch and I sat up there kind of killing time. And once she got back from lunch, I gave her her spot back and off I went back to my office. Well, a little bit later, she comes back and she finds me and I thought, oh, how nice. She's going to thank me for watching the desk while she was gone. I've been successful. But no, she was seething. She proceeded to say, I saw what you were doing while I was at lunch. Well, I had no idea what she was talking about. I really kind of thought she was joking. But when I realized she was serious, I was like, what? What was I doing while you were at lunch? And she proceeded to say, well, solitaire was up. You simply played solitaire while you were at my desk. I looked at her and I said, okay, yeah. And she just looked right back at me like I had really been caught. And there was this awkward silence at that point because I guess she just wanted me to know that she had caught me. I have no idea what she wanted from that conversation, but she was really upset about me playing solitaire. It bothered her so much that she had come to find me to chastise me about it, even after I had done a nice thing for her. But I knew even back then it wasn't the solitaire. She was unhappy so much of the time that she looked for reasons to stay that way. No one can change that but her. And misery loves company. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't be happy enough to make her happy. And I couldn't do nice enough things to make her happy either. And I tried for a minute. But you see, even when you try to make someone else happy that isn't, it puts you in their vibration of unhappiness. So when she got upset about solitaire and came to find me, I was kind of annoyed, kind of wrecked my afternoon because I had done something nice for her and that's the thanks I get. Well, yeah, sometimes that is what you get when you're putting yourself in the path of unhappy people. Now, I'm not saying don't do nice things for people. I'm just saying you're not going to fix them. They can only fix themselves. In fact, if you're not careful, you're going to be sucked into their unhappy vibration. Now, eventually, I realized that, and Karen sort of fell off my radar. I don't even know what happened to her, but I know she didn't last long at her company. We were a fast-moving, upbeat company, and the vibration she chose to live in wasn't going to last there. So even sometimes well-meaning habits put you in situations with unhappy people because we attract what we're looking for. I mean, if your worthiness depends on helping people, and mine did back then people who need help are going to flock to you like flies. And you're going to constantly need to fill that worthiness bucket. It's a vicious cycle. It's one I've had to work on a lot. We are such a connected society. Everything we do is about attraction. If you're looking for a fight, the person wanting to start one's going to find you. If it's your job to make everyone happy, the unhappy people are going to find you too. What you bring to the table is what you're ultimately going to eat because, well, that's what you brought. Just the same as what you bring to this life is what you're going to live. If you don't want to wake up and decide up front who you're going to be today, I mean, if you don't want to do that or decide on how you're going to show up today, if you don't decide what you're bringing to the table, then you're left with whatever someone else brings. You're at the whim of the person next to you. So yeah, if that's going on, Karen's going to ruin your day. And if your name is Karen, I'm sorry. I truly am. You listening, you're not the kind of Karen I'm talking about. I know that for sure. My challenge to you this week is before any new meeting or any upcoming event, whether it's dinner with a family or meetings with a difficult client, decide in advance how you're going to be, regardless of how anyone else shows up. Decide in advance how you're going to be at that sales call, how hard you're going to work at the gym. Decide how open you're going to be to new ideas, even if it's not what you want to hear. And notice too, if you're unknowingly attracting not so great things because your worthiness is tied up in maybe, say, fixing other people. People who need fixing will be looking for you. It may explain some things for you. So that question, what am I bringing to the table? You don't have to look very far to find that. Just look at the outcomes in your life, and that's going to give you a pretty big clue. Ultimately, the energy we bring to whatever we're doing is the energy we're going to get back. Share this with 3 people who show up in amazing ways already, unless their name is Karen, and in that case, maybe skip it. I love you guys. I'll talk to you in a few days.
Don't forget to subscribe and share with your friends, because we're just going to keep going bigger and better places together, and I love that about us. Talk to you in a few days.